Zach Reiser here, and welcome back to another video. But today I'm going to be stepping into some new territory for the new year, and I'm going to be doing my first ever bass demo, getting outside of the world of effects for a little bit. So we're going to be taking a close look at my trusty Dingwall ABZ 6-string bass. So I've been playing my Dingwall bass for roughly about 7 to 8 years now, and for me, it's pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. It covers a wide sonic palette from modern to vintage, but it fixes a lot of the issues I had with kind of more traditional designed basses. So this started its life as a completely stock bass Dingwall ABZ 6. It is a swamp ash body with a maple neck and a maple fretboard with 2 passive Dingwall FD3 pickups. So a quick discussion about the pickups. As I said, these are FD3s, not the current Dingwall FD5s that they put in their production models now. And this was the first fully passive bass I actually ever owned. Everything prior was always an active preamp in there. And I have to admit that I have been fully converted to the passive world. For me, I always found that I never touched the preamp on my active basses, and it was just an extra thing to worry about. And I like the extra dynamic control I get from the lack of compression from a preamp. But that's just, of course, my personal preference. So for any of you that are familiar with Dingwall electronics, you will immediately notice a mod I've done to my bass, which is swap out the rotary pot pickup selector to a blade switch, something you might find on like a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. Now, not 100% necessary by any means. I would never go back from a blade switch to a rotary pot. For me, it's a much faster and more articulate and accurate way to switch the pickups quickly on the fly without having to look down at my right hand. So another little modification I did is this little button right here is actually a kill switch, and to be completely frank, I almost never use it. I've actually thought about swapping it to be a like an actual switch instead of a button, because I think I might use it more if I had it that way as just a general mute. But for now, it's just filling a place where there was another modification I'd done earlier to kind of plug the hole in the wood. And lastly, another very important modification I've made to my bass for my particular playing style is I cut and put in this ramp between the pickups. This is a relatively common feature you'll see in a lot of modern kind of like jazz fusion guys out there, but all it does is essentially gives my fingers an even feel across all the strings and also across this whole kind of middle area between my pickups where my finger might have fallen underneath the string. If you've watched my channel, you know I have a very weird right hand technique comparatively, and this really aids my right hand technique to make it a lot more comfortable and a lot more fluid. Other than that, like I said, my bass is 100% stock. It's the traditional 37-inch B string, oh yeah, all the way up to a 33¼ C on the top, and I have this strung with a custom set of strings from Callium. I have been using these strings for probably about 3 years now, and in my opinion, they are the best multi-scale strings I've found on the market out there for what I'm looking for. All right, so with the specifications out of the way, I'm going to jump into some sound samples here. We'll start with some fingerstyle, then go into some pick playing and some slap and maybe some chordal work, and I'll try to swap through all the different pickup combinations so you can get a good overall feel of what this bass sounds like. So a couple quick personal notes about things that I really dig about the Dingwall and reasons that I've stuck with it for so long. First and foremost, the B string. The Dingwall 37-inch scale B is the best sounding and feeling B string on the market, in my opinion. And the biggest compliment I can give to this B is actually not about the way that it sounds, it's about the way that it feels. And it basically feels like an E string. So anyone that's played a lot of 5-string basses knows that shorter scale B strings, you kind of have to baby them. You have to treat them a little bit differently than you do your other 4 strings. If you just slam it, it ends up getting too floppy, it smacks against the frets, and you don't really get the tone you're looking for. You have to pluck it a little softer. You got to kind of really be aware when you're going to play on that low B. And this Dingwall B is not like that. You can treat it like any other string. You can play quickly, you can play articulately on it, and it responds accurately, just like you want it to. So I'm on my neck pickup right now, and I just want to play a little bit on the B string, and I particularly want you to notice that even when I go high up on the neck, it still has a strong fundamental tone. A lot of shorter scale B strings, when you get up above the 7th fret or so, they start getting really wonky in terms of pitch because they're not really long enough to have a really rich harmonic series. So obviously another thing I love about the Dingwalls, and for probably most people that play Dingwalls, is the multi-scale or fanned fret system. So as I already said, the B string is killer, but if you had a 37-inch scale bass, not only would it be really uncomfortable to play all the time, but also your C, your G, and your D strings would sound super choked and really tight. But this allows me to actually have a totally normal 34-inch scale G and actually a slightly short scale C. So every string really rings richly and they feel almost identical in terms of tension across the board. board. Now, a lot of people, when they're looking at fan fret instruments, they think it might take a while to get used to, and for some people that might be the case, but that was not the case for me. I got used to this bass in about 30 minutes, and now it actually feels almost more awkward to play a parallel fret bass than my fan fret bass. So one quick note about fan frets, because a lot of people ask about this, is that one slightly tricky thing about them is if you do a lot of chordal work, there are certain voicings that are just a little bit awkward to play on the high end of the neck. A good example of that would be a minor 9. In the middle of the neck, there's no problem with it because my frets are basically parallel. But as I go higher, you can see that reaching this ring finger across to make this stretch between my pinky and my ring finger starts to get very awkward. And if I go up any higher than this, it's actually almost impossible for me to play it without changing the traditional fingering for it. Another example would also be like a dominant 7 with a sharp 5. Very easy to play in the middle of the neck. When I go up a little higher, it starts getting a little wonky. I can still do it, but it's not as comfortable as it would have been on the parallel fret bass. Caveat to this, there are many voicings that have the opposite effect. There's a lot of chords that were really difficult to play on a parallel fret bass that are very easy to play on my fan fret bass. A good example would be, instead of a minor 9, a major 9. So a major 9 is lovely because I'm barring with this finger across the D and C string. And as I go up the neck, my hand naturally rolls like this. And so consequently, the voicing just rolls right along with my hand. So no matter where I am, this major 9 pops out, no problem at all. So one control I haven't talked about is the tone pot. So far I've had it rolled completely open the entire time, and it functions like any other tone pot. If you want a little bit less treble, roll it down a little more, roll it forward. But I've left it open so far because I do want to demonstrate that these fully passive pickups have tons and tons of top end. When I first got this bass, I kind of assumed that passive pickups were going to be dark because I'd never played fully passive instruments before. But these Dingwall pickups are really full frequency but they retain a very musical character even though they're very full frequency. But just as a quick sound example, I have my pickup set on the parallel setting, so both pickups in parallel, and I'm just going to play a lick and then roll back the tone pot so you can hear the general sound of that. So I can't resist. The last thing I want to do in this video is I want to show a couple quick examples of the Dingwall with some more standard bass effects. Now, if you want tons and tons of examples of this particular bass played with a ridiculous amount of effects pedals, just dig into other videos on my channel. That's kind of my thing. So first things first, we're going to dig into some light overdrive. I'm using the new Way Huge Smalls Pork and Pickle on the pork loins side of things. And I'm going to stay on the neck pickup for the moment, and I'm just going to show you some fingerstyle and then some pick work. So just a quick example, I've lowered the gain a tiny bit now, and I switched to both pickups in parallel. Another super classic effect is the analog octaver. So I have my Boss OC2 now, and I have it on the bridge pickup. I love running the bridge pickup into an octaver because the bridge pickup can be a little bit thin, but it's kind of nice when you thin out the bass in your signal so that the octaver can fill out the real bass on the bottom. Switching back to both pickups in parallel, and now I'm running it into my Origin Effects Cali 76 compressor for a super squishy slap tone. Switching to my bridge pickup, I'm going to play some harmonic work now. I'm going to leave that compressor on because I want that to kind of squeeze those harmonics right up into the foreground. And last up, I'm going to put a very lush chorus on from the Boss DC2W and a little bit of reverb and delay from the Strymon Volante, switching back to my neck pickup for some nice lush chordal work. So that is my demo of my lovely Dingwall ABZ 6-string. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. It really does help me out, and I will be back very soon with more demos and performance videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.